Вітаємо вас, дорогі глядачі, на українській телемережі «Контакт». І сьогодні маємо приємність вітати міністра Ахмеда Гусена, міністра міжнародного розвитку. Welcome to our show, Honorable Minister Ahmed Hussein. That was a short Ukrainian introduction to our community. Thank you very much. And we're in receipt here of a very important press release about Canada's continued help for Ukraine in the amount of $15 million. So we'd like to ask you about how this $15 million is to be distributed. But also, like, we had noticed that you travel all over and visit with Ukrainian communities, and you were supposed to have one in Winnipeg just recently, and I guess that didn't work out because of Air Canada. So
Well, first of all, on the recent announcement, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a $52.4 million package of measures to help support Ukraine. This includes $15 million to support vulnerable children who are at risk or have been displaced, and to also help survivors of war crimes committed by Russia. $20 million of that, $20 million is to help Ukraine safely clear mines of its territory and explosives. So clearing mines, explosives safely. This is really important to support local economies to recover so that you can have economic activity, including restoration of agricultural land so that Ukrainian farmers can continue to safely plant crops and harvest and clear those mines and explosives. And $2 million to uphold safe operations of Ukraine's nuclear facilities. This is, again, a very important initiative. But in addition to that $52.4 million package, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also announced recently that Canada is contributing $5 billion to the G7 Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Loans for Ukraine. This is a Canadian-led initiative that has resulted in taking revenue from frozen Russian sovereign assets and providing Ukraine with approximately $69 billion as it continues to defend its freedom, its sovereignty, and territorial integrity. So this was a Canadian-led initiative that convinced all our partners that we should use frozen Russian assets to provide more support for Ukraine. But throughout, Canada has been there. We're looking at the relationship from every angle. Right now, as I speak, our Minister for International Trade, the Honorable Mary Ng, is in Ukraine promoting more economic collaboration between Canada and Ukraine. Since the war began, we've committed over $19 billion in total support for Ukraine. This includes $352 million in humanitarian assistance and $442 million in development support. So Canada will continue to be there for the people of Ukraine as they defend themselves from this illegal invasion of Ukraine by Russia.
Now, thank you very much for all the support that Canada provides. Could you tell us a little bit more? I think this using Russian frozen assets, I think, was a very, very big concern for the Ukrainian international community and for the global governments. Could you tell us how soon that money or those assets will be available for Ukrainian use? Because there always seems to be a little bit of a delay with everything.
Well, the assets are there. They're being leveraged to then unlock more dollars for Ukraine. So I think that can move very quickly because those assets have already been identified and frozen. But in addition to that, at the local level, myself and a lot of my colleagues, we make it a point to engage with the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, with a number of faith groups in the Ukrainian Canadian community, different community organizations right across the country, including the welcoming of newcomers from Ukraine. So I've had the pleasure of being in a Ukrainian church, meeting leaders at a roundtable in Windsor. I've visited newcomers in Regina. I've had discussions with representatives of the UCC in Edmonton. All across the country, we've really made a point as a government, MPs and ministers, to really engage members of the community so that we can always get very quick feedback on some of the work that we've done, but what more needs to be done for Ukraine and its people.
Well, one of the concerns, like you mentioned, the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, is that when you're providing international funding for Ukraine, seems like you're providing the funding to international organizations. Have you considered, or is it possible to consider, like Canadian or Ukrainian community organizations that actually provide these kinds of services, and that this may be a better way of getting the funds directly to where they're needed?
I'm very much open to that, and in fact, that's something not just in Ukraine but beyond Ukraine that I've been pushing for, that we should engage and bring in more Canadian organizations to do more international development and humanitarian work. The challenge is that Canadian organizations are not everywhere, and so there's parts of the world in which we have to use other international trusted partners. But absolutely, as a principle, I would like to see more of that done, and whatever we can do to highlight those opportunities for more collaboration with community organizations in Canada, including Ukrainian Canadian organizations. That's something I'm open to and that I'm working on.
Okay, well, thank you for looking into that, because I do remember there was a relative disconnect in terms of the International Red Cross and the way that they were taking orders from the Russian Red Cross, and it also somehow implicated the Canadian Red Cross, which turned out to be okay. So it really would be a very valuable thing. We've got the Canada-Ukraine.
I heard about this. It's something that the UCC brought up with me in my recent meeting a few weeks ago. And so I have ideas on how to deal with that, yes.
Okay. And I think a very, very important thing that you mentioned today is the demining of Ukrainian lands. Do you have any idea how... Because talking to military experts or even people, this is going to take, some say, hundreds of years to demine. But is there like a concrete approach when we're going to start the demining process, at least? Any vision of that?
It's already started, but the problem is obviously the war continues. The illegal invasion of Ukraine by Russia continues, and they continue to, of course, launch bombs and missiles in civilian areas, bombing infrastructure. But this work cannot wait, and that's why we are committing $20 million to safely clear Ukrainian territory of mines and explosives. And this is, of course, the Canadian contribution, but many other countries are also doing the same work. It's a huge lift, as you said. It's going to take a long time, but we shouldn't wait for the war to end to start this work, which is why we're committing this significant investment of $20 million to continue that work.
Well, Honorable Minister, thank you very much for being with us. Дорогі глядачі, це міністр міжнародного розвитку Ахмед Гусен. І повертаємося до програми відразу після наступних реклам. And Minister, if there's a last word that you may want, the floor is yours.
Well, Canada has and will continue to be with the people of Ukraine. Ukrainians have been suffering because of Russia's brutal invasion and illegal war for too long. Our ties, the ties between Ukrainians and Canadians, run very deep, and our government will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes to win this war and to rebuild.
Okay, Minister, thank you. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck with your ministry and with everything that you do.
Thank you so much.